In a distant galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's telescopes, an alien species called the Zrithans lived among the stars. They were advanced, their technology centuries ahead of humanity's. Their sleek ships glided silently through space, and their cities floated like glowing jewels on distant moons. But despite their sophistication, they had never encountered another intelligent species, until now. One day, deep within the heart of their command center, a faint signal appeared on their sensors. It was weak, almost drowned out by cosmic noise, but it was unmistakably artificial. The Zrithan scientists traced its origin to a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star in a remote corner of the Milky Way. The planet's name, as recorded in their databases, was Earth. At first, the signal puzzled them. It wasn't a distress call or a warning. It wasn't even a message written in code. Instead, it was music, a haunting melody that seemed to rise and fall like waves crashing against a shore. There were no words, no clear meaning, just emotion woven into sound. For beings who communicated primarily through logic and data streams, this strange transmission felt unsettling. Commander Vera stood at the edge of the council chamber, her sharp eyes scanning the faces of her peers. She was tall for a Zrithan, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver under the light. Her voice carried authority when she spoke. "This signal is unusual," she said, addressing the council. "It suggests intelligence, but not in a way we understand. We must proceed carefully." The council murmured among themselves, some eager to investigate, others cautious. One elder, a frail-looking Zrithan named Korin, leaned forward. His voice crackled with age. "There are legends," he began, "of civilizations that vanished after provoking humanity. Stories passed down through generations. Be careful, Commander. This could be more dangerous than it seems." Vera nodded, though she didn't fully believe the old tales. Still, something about the signal gave her pause. Humanity, if that's what this was, didn't seem like a threat from so far away. Yet there was a rawness to the music, a depth of feeling that hinted at untapped potential. What if these creatures weren't just primitive? What if they were something else entirely? Despite Vera's warnings, curiosity won over caution. The council decided to send a reconnaissance probe to Earth. It would land undetected, gather information, and return without interference, or so they hoped. As the probe launched into the void, Vera couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her mind. She stared at the holographic map of Earth displayed before her, the swirling oceans, the jagged mountains, the sprawling cities glowing faintly in the dark. Something about this little planet felt alive and unpredictable. Little did the Zrithans know, their decision to investigate would set off a chain reaction neither side could have anticipated. Back on Earth, people went about their daily lives unaware that their song had traveled across galaxies, and that soon their world would change forever. For now, the signal drifted silently through space, carrying with it the hopes, fears, and dreams of a species destined to prove that sometimes the smallest actions can spark the biggest consequences. Back on the Zrithan homeworld, Commander Vera stood in the dimly lit council chamber, her silver skin reflecting the faint glow of holographic displays. The room buzzed with tension as leaders debated their next move. News of the probe's destruction had reached them hours earlier, and while some saw it as a failure, others viewed it as an opportunity. "We underestimated them," Vera said firmly, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "The humans are not primitive. They acted swiftly, decisively, and without hesitation. Destroying our probe was a clear message. They will defend themselves." Her words hung heavy in the air, but not everyone agreed. General Kale, a towering figure with sharp features and an even sharper temper, stepped forward. His tone dripped with disdain. "Defend themselves? Against what? A single probe? This is no reason to retreat. If anything, it proves how weak they are. They couldn't even communicate properly. They resorted to violence immediately." Vera clenched her fists, frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. She had spent years studying ancient texts that warned of civilizations destroyed by underestimating humanity. These weren't just stories, they were lessons. But the council seemed blind to history, blinded instead by arrogance. Their reaction isn't weakness, it's strength, Vera countered. They adapted faster than we anticipated. Their technology may be inferior, but their ingenuity is unmatched. We cannot afford to provoke them further. Despite her warnings, the council voted overwhelmingly to proceed with a limited attack, a show of force meant to intimidate Earth into submission. The plan was simple: target key cities with precision strikes, disabling infrastructure without causing mass casualties. It was supposed to send a message: we are superior. Resist us, and you will suffer. Vera reluctantly complied, though her heart sank. She knew this decision would have consequences far beyond what anyone imagined. Still, duty bound her to follow orders. As she left the chamber, she whispered to herself, "May the stars forgive us." Meanwhile, on Earth, governments worked around the clock to prepare for the inevitable. Fragments of the destroyed probe continued to yield valuable data, revealing glimpses of Zrithan technology. Scientists marveled at its complexity, reverse engineering parts to create new tools and weapons. Under the banner of the Global Defense Initiative, GDI, nations pooled resources, setting aside differences in the face of a common enemy. Dr. Elena Volkov, who had been present during the probe's landing, became one of the leading figures in decoding the alien tech. Late one night, hunched over her desk, surrounded by glowing screens and scattered papers, she stumbled upon something startling. Hidden deep within the fragmented code was a warning, not from the Zrithans, but seemingly written by someone else entirely. The message read, "Do not attack the humans. They will never let you go." Elena froze, staring at the screen. Who had left this message? Was it another species trying to warn the Zrithans, or perhaps a rogue faction among the aliens themselves? Whatever the case, the implications were chilling. Humanity wasn't dealing with ordinary invaders. These beings had secrets and vulnerabilities of their own. As days passed, the world braced for impact. Military bases went on high alert, satellites scanned the skies for signs of incoming threats, and civilians prepared for the worst. Yet amid the fear, there was also determination. Humanity had faced extinction-level events before: asteroids, plagues, nuclear war, and survived. This time wouldn't be any different. Unbeknownst to both sides, the stage was set for a conflict unlike any other. The Zrithans believed they held all the cards, confident in their technological superiority. What they didn't realize was that humanity had a secret weapon neither side could predict: resilience. And when the first wave of Zrithan ships descended upon Earth, they would learn just how dangerous hope could be. The Zrithan fleet emerged from the void of space like shadows against the stars, their sleek ships gliding silently toward Earth. To the casual observer, they might have looked beautiful, shimmering vessels bathed in the light of the sun. But to those who knew their purpose, they were harbingers of destruction. Commander Vera stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the blue-green orb of Earth grew larger in the viewport. Her heart was heavy with dread, but she had no choice but to follow orders. The plan was simple: strike hard, strike fast, and leave humanity reeling. The Zrithans targeted major cities across the globe: Tokyo, New York, London, Mumbai, all hubs of human activity. Their weapons weren't designed for annihilation. Instead, they unleashed precise energy pulses that disabled power grids, communication networks, and transportation systems. Within minutes, chaos erupted on Earth's surface. In Tokyo, trains screeched to a halt mid-track, leaving passengers stranded. In New York, skyscrapers plunged into darkness, their windows flickering like dying stars. In London, traffic lights went dead, causing gridlock on every street. Panic spread like wildfire as people realized this wasn't an accident. It was an attack. But what the Zrithans didn't anticipate was humanity's ability to adapt. On the ground, Civilians sprang into action. Neighbors helped each other navigate pitch-black streets. Hackers worked tirelessly to bypass the alien interference, restoring fragments of communication networks piece by piece. Engineers rigged makeshift generators to keep hospitals running. Even children pitched in, using smartphones to relay messages between communities cut off from the outside world. Military forces responded with equal determination. Pilots scrambled to intercept the alien ships, their fighter jets roaring through the skies. Though vastly outmatched in terms of technology, the humans relied on something the Zrithans couldn't comprehend: creativity. They used unpredictable flight patterns, decoys, and even civilian drones to confuse the invaders. Every move humanity made forced the Zrithans to recalibrate their strategies, a process that slowed them down significantly. Back on the Zrithan flagship, analysts monitored the situation closely, feeding data back to the fleet. What they discovered shocked them. Humans weren't just fighting, they were learning. Each encounter provided valuable insights into Zrithan tactics, which were then shared globally via encrypted channels. By the time the aliens adjusted their approach, humanity had already moved on to the next phase of defense. Commander Vera watched the reports come in, her unease growing with each update. "This isn't supposed to happen," she muttered under her breath. She turned to her second-in-command, a younger officer named Tarek. "They're turning our own actions against us. Every strike we make gives them more information." Tarek nodded grimly. "It's almost like they're luring us deeper." Vera's eyes widened. That was exactly what was happening. Humanity wasn't retreating. They were drawing the Zrithans closer, setting traps at every turn. Abandoned buildings became ambush zones. Underground tunnels served as escape routes. Even the weather was weaponized. Rainstorms grounded Zrithan drones, while snowstorms masked troop movements. As the battle raged on, one thing became painfully clear: the Zrithans had underestimated their enemy. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were thriving under pressure. And worst of all, the more the aliens pushed, the tighter the net around them became. Far below, in a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of a bombed-out city, Dr. Elena Volkov worked feverishly alongside GDI operatives. Using data recovered from the destroyed probe, they had developed prototype weapons capable of countering Zrithan shields. "We can't win this war with brute force," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "But we can outsmart them." Her words echoed through the bunker, fueling the resolve of everyone present. Humanity had always been resourceful, resilient, and unyieldingly stubborn. Now those traits would be put to the ultimate test. For the Zrithans, the realization dawned too late. They had walked straight into a trap, and once the jaws snapped shut, there would be no escape. The tide of the war began to shift in humanity's favor, thanks to a combination of ingenuity, determination, and sheer willpower. In a hidden facility deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, Dr. Elena Volkov and her team worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of Zrithan technology. Using fragments from the destroyed probe, they reverse-engineered key components, creating weapons capable of countering the aliens' advanced shields. It was risky, untested, and fraught with failure, but it was also their only chance. Elena stood over a glowing console, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted settings on the prototype weapon. The device hummed softly, its energy core pulsing with an eerie blue light. "This could level the playing field," she said, glancing at the group of GDI operatives gathered around her. "But we have to use it wisely. One wrong move, and we lose everything." Her words carried weight. Outside the facility, the world remained locked in chaos. Cities lay in ruins, millions were displaced, and fear lingered in every corner. Yet amidst the devastation, there was hope, a fragile but stubborn flame that refused to be extinguished. The people of Earth weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. The first test came during a daring counteroffensive led by Captain Malik Rao, a decorated fighter pilot whose reputation had grown after several successful skirmishes against the Zrithans. Armed with the new prototype weapons, his squadron launched a surprise attack on a cluster of alien ships hovering over Eastern Europe. The plan was bold. Disable one ship, board it, and extract critical data about the invaders' fleet. As the human fighters approached, the Zrithans underestimated them yet again. Their shields flickered under the barrage of modified energy pulses fired from the prototypes. Sparks erupted across the hulls of their ships as the weapons tore through defenses previously thought impenetrable. For the first time, the aliens faltered. Captain Rowe's voice crackled over the comm system. "This is it. Hit them hard while they're vulnerable." His squadron swooped in, unleashing everything they had. Within minutes, one of the Zrithan ships listed dangerously, its engines sputtering. Seizing the opportunity, a team of GDI commandos breached the vessel, engaging in close-quarters combat with the stunned crew. Inside the ship, the commandos discovered something extraordinary: detailed maps of the Zrithan fleet, weak points in their defenses, and even logs detailing their struggles to adapt to human tactics. The information was priceless, and it gave humanity a decisive advantage. Meanwhile, back on Earth, civilians played a crucial role in the resistance. Hackers infiltrated the Zrithans' communication systems, planting viruses that disrupted their coordination. Autonomous drones deployed by the aliens were hijacked and reprogrammed to attack their creators. Entire swarms of these machines turned against the invaders, sowing confusion among their ranks. Commander Vera watched the unfolding disaster from her flagship, her expression grim. The humans weren't just fighting. They were evolving faster than anyone could have predicted. Every strategy the Zrithans employed was countered within hours. Every weakness exposed became a target. "They're learning too quickly," Tarek said, standing beside her. "We can't keep up." Vera clenched her fists. She had warned the Council about this, about underestimating humanity, but her warnings had gone unheeded. Now, the consequences were clear. The Zrithans had walked into a trap of their own making, and there was no easy way out. Desperate, General Kell ordered a full retreat, pulling the remaining fleet back to regroup. But humanity wasn't done yet. As the alien ships fled, Captain Rowe's squadron pursued them, delivering a final blow that crippled 2 more vessels. The message was loud and clear: Earth would not surrender. Back on the planet's surface, celebrations broke out in cities still smoldering from the conflict. People cheered, cried, and embraced one another, knowing they had struck a significant blow against an overwhelming enemy. But Alina, watching footage of the victory, felt no joy. Her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. The war wasn't over, not yet. For now, though, humanity had proven itself capable of more than survival. They had shown resilience, intelligence, and unity. And somewhere, amid the stars, the Zrithans began to realize the truth. Attacking Earth had been their greatest mistake. As the war raged on, humanity's greatest minds worked feverishly to uncover the secrets buried within the Zrithan data recovered from their captured ship. In a secure underground lab in Geneva, Dr. Elena Volkov and her team pored over encrypted files, piecing together fragments of alien code like archaeologists decoding an ancient language. What they found sent shockwaves through the Global Defense Initiative, GDI. Hidden deep within the logs was a reference to something called Project Nexus. At first, it seemed innocuous, a name for some kind of internal Zrithan initiative. But as Elena delved deeper, she realized its true purpose. Project Nexus was a classified human program that had been abandoned decades ago. It wasn't just any project. It was humanity's most ambitious attempt to create AI-driven swarm technology capable of overwhelming any enemy. The implications were staggering. How did the Zrithans know about Project Nexus? And why would they fear it? Elena's hands trembled as she pulled up archived records of the program. Decades earlier, scientists had experimented with autonomous drones designed to operate as a hive mind, learning and adapting in real time. The goal was to develop a weapon so advanced it could neutralize threats without risking human lives. But the project faced fierce opposition due to ethical concerns. Critics argued that such technology could spiral out of control, turning against its creators. Eventually, the program was shelved, its existence buried under layers of secrecy. Now, staring at the evidence before her, Elena understood why the Zrithans were so terrified. They weren't just fighting humanity. They were confronting the ghost of what humanity might become if pushed too far. If we reactivate Project Nexus, she whispered to herself, we could end this war. But at what cost? Her words echoed in the quiet lab, where GDI leaders had gathered to discuss the discovery. General Carter, a grizzled veteran with steel-gray hair, leaned forward, his face etched with concern. We can't afford to hesitate, he said. The Zrithans are regrouping. If we don't strike now, they'll come back stronger. Others disagreed. Ambassador Lin, representing the diplomatic wing of the GDI, shook her head firmly. Reactivating this project is dangerous. We've seen how easily weapons like these can escalate conflicts. Are we really willing to risk becoming monsters to defeat monsters? The debate raged late into the night, tensions running high. Meanwhile, Commander Vera watched events unfold from afar, piecing together clues about humanity's past. She had long suspected Earth harbored untapped potential, but even she hadn't anticipated this level of ambition or recklessness. Back on this Zrithan homeworld, similar discussions took place. Faced with mounting losses, the Council debated whether to escalate the conflict or seek a diplomatic solution. Vera argued passionately for peace, warning that humanity's adaptability made them unpredictable and unstoppable. But General Kale dismissed her warnings, insisting that only total annihilation could ensure victory. Unbeknownst to both sides, time was running out. As GDI operatives prepared to reactivate Project Nexus, whispers of dissent spread among the Zrithans. Some began questioning their mission, wondering if attacking Earth had been worth the cost. Others clung to hope, believing their superior numbers would eventually overwhelm the humans. In the end, one thing became clear. Neither side fully understood the stakes. Humanity stood on the brink of unleashing a force it might not be able to control, while the Zrithans teetered between unity and division. Both civilizations were walking a tightrope, unaware that a single misstep could send them plummeting into disaster. For now, the truth about Project Nexus remained locked away, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, Commander Vera stared at Earth, her heart heavy with foreboding. She knew one thing for certain. The choices humanity made next would shape the fate of two species, and possibly the galaxy itself. Commander Vera stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring out at the swirling void of space. The Zrithan fleet had retreated to a distant moon, orbiting a gas giant, far from Earth's reach. But even here, the tension was palpable. The Council's faith in their mission was crumbling, and whispers of dissent spread like wildfire among the crew. Vera knew they couldn't keep running forever. Every day, humanity grew stronger, adapting to Zrithan tactics with alarming speed. She had warned them, warned everyone, that attacking Earth would be a mistake. Now, faced with mounting losses and dwindling resources, she realized there was only one way to end this war before it consumed both species: betrayal. Her thoughts turned to General Kale, the man who had spearheaded the invasion. His arrogance had led them into disaster, yet he still clung to power, refusing to admit defeat. Worse, he had begun advocating for an all-out assault on Earth, a suicidal plan that would leave both civilizations in ruins. Vera could no longer stand by and watch as her people marched toward extinction. Late one night, she slipped away from the command center and contacted GDI through encrypted channels. Using stolen data from the captured Zrithan ship, she transmitted critical intel about the fleet's location, weaknesses in their defenses, and Kel's reckless plans. In exchange, she requested asylum, an act of treason punishable by death among her people. The message reached Earth within hours. Dr. Elena Volkov and General Carter reviewed the information, stunned by its implications. "She's giving us everything we need to take them down," Carter said, his voice tinged with disbelief. Why would she do this? Alina leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed. Because she knows what's coming next. If Kale gets his way, this war will end in total destruction for both sides. Despite the risks, the GDI leaders agreed to accept Vera's offer. They sent a coded reply, promising safe passage if she defected. For Vera, it was a gamble, one that required leaving behind everything she had ever known. But she believed it was the only way to save her people and perhaps redeem herself. When news of Vera's betrayal reached the Zrithan Council, chaos erupted. General Kale accused her of cowardice and treachery, rallying his loyalists to seize control of the fleet. Factions splintered, turning allies into enemies. Some supported Kale's aggressive strategy, while others sided with Vera, believing diplomacy was the only path forward. Amid the turmoil, Vera made her move. Under cover of darkness, she boarded a small escape pod and fled the flagship, narrowly avoiding capture by Kale's forces. Her departure ignited fury among the Zrithans, further dividing their ranks. Without a clear leader, the fleet descended into disarray, unable to mount a coherent response to humanity's growing strength. On Earth, preparations for the final assault were underway. Armed with Vera's intel, GDI operatives devised a bold plan to cripple the Zrithan fleet once and for all. Prototype weapons powered by reverse-engineered alien tech were deployed en masse, giving human forces a fighting chance against their advanced adversaries. But not everyone trusted Vera's motives. Captain Malik Rowe voiced his concerns during a briefing session. "What if this is a trick?" he asked, pacing the room. "What if she's leading us into another trap?" General Carter shook his head firmly. "We don't have time to second-guess ourselves. This might be our last chance to end this war before it escalates further." As the stage was set for the climactic battle, humanity braced itself for what lay ahead. Meanwhile, aboard Cal's commandeered flagship, the General vowed vengeance, not just against Earth, but against Vera herself. He activated a secret weapon buried deep within the fleet's arsenal, a doomsday device capable of annihilating Earth's biosphere. Unbeknownst to him, humanity had already anticipated such a move. A team of elite pilots volunteered for a suicide mission to destroy the weapon, buying precious time for Vera and her allies to disable the Zrithan command ship. Betrayal had torn the Zrithans apart, but unity remained humanity's greatest strength. And as the final chapter of the war approached, one truth became clear: survival would demand sacrifice and trust from both sides. The battle for Earth's survival reached its crescendo as humanity launched a coordinated assault on the fractured Zrithan fleet. Armed with Commander Vera's intel and their own ingenuity, GDI forces struck with precision, targeting key ships in the enemy formation. The night sky lit up with streaks of fire as human fighters clashed with alien vessels, each side fighting not just for victory, but for existence itself. At the heart of the conflict was Captain Malik Rowe, leading his squadron into the thick of the fight. His fighter darted between massive Zrithan cruisers, dodging energy blasts while firing prototype weapons designed to pierce through their once impenetrable shields. "Stay sharp," he shouted over the comm system. "We've got one shot at this." The tide began to turn almost immediately. With Vera's guidance, GDI operatives identified critical weak points in the Zrithan defenses. Energy pulses from the modified weapons tore through hulls, disabling engines and cutting off communication systems. For every ship lost, the Zrithans grew more disorganized, their ranks fractured by internal dissent and external pressure. Meanwhile, aboard General Cal's flagship, panic set in. The general paced furiously across the bridge, his face contorted with rage. "How could they know our strategies?" he demanded, slamming his fist against a console. His officers exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. They had underestimated humanity, and now that mistake was costing them dearly. Desperate to regain control, Kale activated the doomsday device hidden within the fleet. A countdown timer appeared on screens across the bridge, signaling the weapon's imminent deployment. Once triggered, it would release a pulse capable of wiping out all life on Earth, a final act of vengeance meant to ensure no one survived. But humanity had anticipated such desperation. In secret, a team of elite pilots volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission, infiltrating the core of Cal's flagship and destroying the weapon before it could be launched. Led by Lieutenant Ava Chen, the squad consisted of 6 brave individuals willing to sacrifice everything for their planet. As the main fleet engaged the Zrithans head-on, Chen's team slipped past the chaos, weaving through debris fields and evading enemy patrols. Their small craft approached the flagship undetected, thanks to cloaking technology reverse-engineered from Zrithan designs. Inside the ship, they moved silently, taking down guards and disabling security systems as they made their way to the weapons chamber. Time was running out. The countdown ticked closer to 0, and explosions rocked the flagship as GDI forces attacked from outside. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Volkov monitored the operation from a command center, her hands gripping the edge of her desk. "Come on," she whispered, watching live feeds of the mission. "You can do this." Inside the chamber, Lieutenant Chen faced the final hurdle, a heavily armored door guarding the doomsday device. With seconds to spare, her team planted explosives and retreated. The blast tore through the metal, giving them access to the weapon. Working quickly, they dismantled its core, severing the countdown just moments before activation. Outside, the news spread like wildfire. Human forces redoubled their efforts, pushing the Zrithans back further. Commander Vera, now working alongside GDI engineers, hacked into the alien command network, disabling key systems and sowing confusion among the remaining fleet. General Kale watched helplessly as his plans unraveled. His flagship listed dangerously, its engines failing under relentless assault. Realizing defeat was inevitable, he barked orders to retreat, abandoning his troops to save himself. By dawn, the skies above Earth cleared. The Zrithan fleet, leaderless and demoralized, fled into the void. Humanity had won, but at great cost. Cities lay in ruins, millions mourned their dead, and scars ran deep across the planet. Yet amidst the devastation, hope flickered anew. Humanity had proven itself resilient, resourceful, and united. And somewhere among the stars, the surviving Zrithans carried a lesson they would never forget. Never underestimate the humans. They will never let you go. The battle for Earth reached its peak as humanity launched a daring counterattack against the fractured Zrithan fleet. Armed with Commander Vera's intel and prototype weapons, GDI forces struck with precision, targeting key ships in the enemy formation. The night sky lit up with streaks of fire as human fighters clashed with alien vessels, each side fighting not just for victory, but for survival itself. At the heart of the conflict was Captain Malik Rao, leading his squadron into the chaos. His fighter darted between massive Zrithan cruisers, dodging energy blasts while firing modified weapons designed to pierce their once impenetrable shields. "Stay sharp," he shouted over the comm system. "We've got one shot at this." The tide began to turn almost immediately. Using Vera's guidance, GDI operatives identified critical weak points in the Zrithan defenses. Energy pulses from the prototypes tore through hulls, disabling engines and cutting off communications. For every ship lost, the Zrithans grew more disorganized, their ranks fractured by internal dissent and external pressure. Meanwhile, aboard General Kell's flagship, panic spread like wildfire. The general paced furiously across the bridge, his face contorted with rage. "How could they know our strategies?" he demanded, slamming his fist against a console. His officers exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. They had underestimated humanity, and now that mistake was costing them dearly. Desperate to regain control, Kale activated a doomsday device hidden within the fleet. A countdown timer appeared on screens across the bridge, signaling the weapon's imminent deployment. Once triggered, it would release a pulse capable of wiping out all life on Earth, a final act of vengeance meant to ensure no one survived. But humanity had anticipated such desperation. In secret, a team of elite pilots volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission, infiltrating the core of Cal's flagship and destroying the weapon before it could be launched. Led by Lieutenant Ava Chen, the squad consisted of 6 brave individuals willing to sacrifice everything for their planet. As the main fleet engaged the Zrithans head-on, Chen's team slipped past the chaos, weaving through debris fields and evading enemy patrols. Their small craft approached the flagship undetected, thanks to cloaking technology reverse-engineered from Zrithan designs. Inside the ship, they moved silently, taking down guards and disabling security systems as they made their way to the weapons chamber. Time was running out. The countdown ticked closer to 0, and explosions rocked the flagship as GDI forces attacked from outside. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Volkov monitored the operation from a command center, her hands gripping the edge of her desk. "Come on," she whispered, watching live feeds of the mission. "You can do this." Inside the chamber, Lieutenant Chen faced the final hurdle, a heavily armored door guarding the doomsday device. With seconds to spare, her team planted explosives and retreated. The blast tore through the metal, giving them access to the weapon. Working quickly, they dismantled its core, severing the countdown just moments before activation. Outside, the news spread like wildfire. Human forces redoubled their efforts, pushing the Zrithans back further. Commander Vera, now working alongside GDI engineers, hacked into the alien command network, disabling key systems and sowing confusion among the remaining fleet. General Kell watched helplessly as his plans unraveled. His flagship listed dangerously, its engines failing under relentless assault. Realizing defeat was inevitable, he barked orders to retreat, abandoning his troops to save himself. By dawn, the skies above Earth cleared. The Zrithan fleet, leaderless and demoralized, fled into the void. Humanity had won, but at great cost. Cities lay in ruins, millions mourned their dead, and scars ran deep across the planet. Yet amidst the devastation, hope flickered anew. Humanity had proven itself resilient, resourceful, and united. And somewhere among the stars, the surviving Zrithans carried a lesson they would never forget. Never underestimate the humans. They will never let you go. The war was over, but the scars ran deep. Earth's cities lay in ruins, their streets littered with debris and memories of loss. Smoke still rose from bombed-out buildings, and the air carried the lingering smell of ash and uncertainty. Yet amidst the devastation, there was a quiet sense of triumph. Humanity had survived, an impossible feat against an enemy far more advanced. And now, as the dust settled, the survivors began to rebuild. Commander Vera stood on a hill overlooking what remained of Geneva, her shimmering silver skin glinting under the pale morning sun. She had chosen exile over returning to her people, knowing she could never face them after betraying the fleet. But here, among humans, she found something unexpected: acceptance. Dr. Elena Volkov approached her cautiously, holding out a thermos of steaming coffee. "It's not much," Elena said with a small smile, "but it's warm." Vera took the thermos, studying it curiously before taking the sip. The bitterness surprised her, but she nodded in gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly. Her voice carried a weight of sorrow, yet also a flicker of hope. For the first time in her life, she felt she might belong somewhere, even if it wasn't her home. Elena glanced at the horizon, where cleanup crews worked tirelessly to clear rubble and restore power. "You saved us," she said finally. "Without your intel, we wouldn't have made it." "I did what I had to do," Vera replied, her tone measured. "But this isn't the end. My people, they won't forget this. They'll come back someday, stronger and angrier." Elena didn't argue. She knew Vera was right. The Zrithans weren't gone. They were regrouping, licking their wounds, and plotting their next move. But for now, humanity had bought itself time. Time to heal, to prepare, and to grow stronger. Across the globe, efforts to rebuild gained momentum. Governments collaborated like never before, pooling resources and knowledge to create a unified front. The Global Defense Initiative became a symbol of resilience, its leaders vowing to protect Earth no matter the cost. Scientists worked around the clock to refine the prototype weapons developed during the war, ensuring humanity would never be caught off guard again. Yet even as progress was made, questions lingered. What would happen when the Zrithans returned? Could peace ever truly exist between two species so fundamentally different? These uncertainties weighed heavily on everyone, especially Vera. She spent hours in meetings with GDI leaders, sharing insights about her people's culture, technology, and weaknesses. Her betrayal had cost her everything, but she hoped it might pave the way for coexistence. Meanwhile, far beyond Earth's orbit, the remnants of the Zrithan fleet drifted through space. General Kale, humiliated and furious, plotted revenge. He blamed Vera for their defeat, vowing to hunt her down and bring her to justice. But his authority was waning. Many within the fleet questioned his leadership, citing his reckless tactics as the reason for their failure. Factions formed, some advocating for peace, others demanding retribution. Back on Earth, Vera watched the stars each night, wondering if she had done enough to prevent another war. One evening, Elena joined her, carrying a blanket against the chill. "Do you think they'll listen?" Elena asked quietly. "Will they learn?" Vera hesitated before answering. "Some will, others won't. Fear and pride are powerful forces. But maybe, just maybe, we've planted a seed." As the weeks turned into months, humanity began to thrive once more. Cities rose from the ashes, powered by new technologies born from the war. Children played in parks rebuilt from rubble, their laughter echoing through neighborhoods that had once known only despair. Humanity had proven itself adaptable, resilient, and unyielding, a testament to the strength of unity. And though the threat of the Zrithans loomed large, one truth remained clear: Earth would never bow to anyone again, not without a fight. For now, peace, fragile and uncertain, was theirs to cherish. Years passed, and Earth transformed into a beacon of hope and innovation. The scars of war remained etched into its landscapes: crumbling ruins, abandoned bunkers, and memorials dedicated to those who had fallen. But the planet itself thrived under humanity's unrelenting spirit. Cities rose higher than ever before, their skylines gleaming with solar panels and green energy systems. Technology advanced at an unprecedented pace, fueled by lessons learned from both the Zrithans and humanity's own ingenuity. Commander Vera became a symbol of unity between species, granted honorary citizenship by the Global Defense Initiative, GDI. She worked tirelessly alongside human scientists to foster understanding between civilizations. Her presence served as a reminder of the cost of conflict and the potential for peace. She often spoke at global summits, her voice calm but firm, as she urged humanity to remain vigilant yet compassionate. "The stars are vast," she once said during a speech in New York City, "but they are not infinite. If we wish to survive among them, we must learn to coexist, not just with ourselves, but with others." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring a new generation of explorers, diplomats, and thinkers. Humanity began looking outward again, not with fear or aggression, but with curiosity and respect. Space programs expanded, sending probes and manned missions to nearby planets and moons. Each discovery brought fresh insights about the universe and about themselves. Far away, in the distant reaches of space, the remnants of the Zrithan fleet drifted aimlessly. General Kale's influence waned further as dissent tore through their ranks. Some factions embraced Vera's ideals, seeking peaceful dialogue with humanity. Others clung to old grudges, vowing revenge. But without strong leadership, their efforts remained scattered and ineffective. Stories of Earth's resilience spread across the galaxy, carried by traders, wanderers, and rogue explorers. Tales of how humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious became legends, a warning to any who dared underestimate them. "Do not attack the humans," these stories concluded. that will never let you go. On Earth, life moved forward. Children grew up hearing stories of the war, not as tales of destruction, but as lessons in courage and cooperation. Schools taught the importance of unity, emphasizing that humanity's greatest strength lay in its diversity. Even Project Nexus, once a classified weapon program, found new purpose. Its technology was repurposed for humanitarian efforts, creating AI-driven systems to combat climate change, cure diseases, and rebuild ecosystems. Dr. Elena Volkov continued her work, now leading a team focused on interstellar diplomacy. Late one evening, as she gazed at the stars from her lab window, she felt a sense of quiet pride. Humanity had come so far, from chaos to clarity, from despair to determination. They weren't perfect, but they were trying, and that made all the difference. Vera joined her shortly after, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Still watching the skies, she asked with a faint smile. "Always," Elena replied. "You never know what's out there." The two stood in silence, their reflections mingling in the glass. Beyond the horizon, the cosmos stretched endlessly, full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity was ready. Together, they had proven that even the smallest actions could spark the biggest changes. And so the legend grew, not just of humanity's strength, but of its heart. For every civilization that looked toward Earth, one truth echoed loud and clear. This was a species that refused to give up, no matter the odds. The end.